A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a significant development for the renewable energy sector, the Trump administration has announced the cancellation of $679 million in federal funding aimed at a dozen offshore wind projects across the United States. This decision marks the latest in a series of actions taken by the administration to undermine the offshore wind industry, which has been struggling to gain traction in the face of political opposition. The rescinded funding impacts projects in 11 states, with the largest cut being $435 million for a floating wind farm in Northern California. Additionally, $47 million earmarked for an offshore wind initiative in Maryland has also been scrapped. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, in a statement regarding the funding cuts, criticized the wind projects as wasteful and claimed that the resources could be better utilized to revitalize the maritime industry. He emphasized that under President Trump, the focus is on real infrastructure improvements rather than what he termed fantasy wind projects that are costly and yield minimal benefits. This recent move is part of a broader trend by the Trump administration to roll back support for renewable energy sources, particularly wind and solar. Over the past few weeks, there has been a noticeable escalation in efforts to cut federal funding and cancel projects that were approved during the Biden administration. Critics, including California Representative Jared Huffman, have expressed outrage over the administration's stance, describing it as an outrageous attack on clean energy. Huffman stated that the administration's actions reflect a stubborn and mystifying hatred of clean energy that threatens thousands of jobs and an entire sector capable of providing affordable, reliable power to consumers. The canceled funding will reportedly be redirected towards upgrading ports and other infrastructure in the U.S., according to the Transportation Department. Furthermore, the Energy Department has withdrawn a $716 million loan guarantee previously approved by the Biden administration for the upgrade and expansion of transmission infrastructure to support another offshore wind project in New Jersey. This decision comes on the heels of the abrupt halt to construction of a nearly completed wind farm off the coasts of Rhode Island and Connecticut, known as the Revolution Wind Project. The Interior Department has stated that it requires a review of the project, which is valued at $4 billion, due to unspecified national security concerns. Democratic governors and lawmakers from New England have voiced their discontent, urging the Trump administration and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum to reconsider their decisions. Trump has long been critical of wind power, often dismissing it as an unattractive and expensive energy source that smart countries do not rely on. Recently, he attributed rising electricity prices to renewable energy, labeling wind and solar as the scam of the century in a social media post. Despite Trump's assertions, energy analysts indicate that the recent spikes in electricity prices are largely due to increased demand from data centers and aging infrastructure, rather than the influence of renewable energy sources. The developer of the Revolution Wind Project, Danish energy company Ørsted, is currently assessing the financial implications of the construction halt and is contemplating legal action. The Revolution Wind Project was anticipated to be the first commercial-scale offshore wind farm for Rhode Island and Connecticut, with the potential to power over 350,000 homes. The cancellation of this and other renewable energy projects not only threatens the state's climate goals, but could also lead to increased electricity prices across the region, according to Democratic officials. Critics of the Trump administration's energy policy argue that its aggressive push for fossil fuels jeopardizes jobs and the environment. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee condemned the administration's actions, framing them as an attack on jobs, energy, and the financial well-being of families. Patrick Crowley, president of the Rhode Island AFL-CIO, expressed his union's determination to fight the administration's policies, stating that they will resist every step of the way. Under the Biden administration, the U.S. had previously made strides in supporting renewable energy, including the first-ever auction of leases for floating wind farms in December 2022. Officials have noted that deep waters off the West Coast are particularly suited for floating wind projects, which could significantly contribute to the country's renewable energy goals. As the Trump administration continues its campaign against renewable energy, the future of offshore wind projects in the U.S. remains uncertain, raising concerns about the long-term implications for clean energy development and job creation in the sector. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.